I think it's safe to say at this point that Siege is kind of in a bit of a rough patch, shall we say, and it has been for kind of a while. And at this point, by all the people complaining about it, all of the problems with the game that are constantly brought up, it's kind of tough for Ubisoft to avoid addressing it. So the question isn't really anymore, is Siege dying? It's more, can Siege be saved? I believe I have the answer for that. Yeah, of course it can. But I do mean that seriously. The game, it might be in a rough state, but Ubisoft is trying and is making strides towards making it better. I do understand myself that the game is overrun with bugs, hackers that give you no other option than to just team kill them. And is just basically getting less content than what we're used to. But in reality, the game has kind of always been plagued by these issues. It's just more recently the game has suffered more from them. They have become more prevalent, I'm not trying to deny that, but also Ubisoft is taking steps in the right direction to try and resolve these issues. And I admit that that is kind of a recent phenomenon for this company. So let's start out with the biggest one that gets brought up almost every time anyone says that this game is dying, and that's hackers. I think a large majority of people who watch videos about people complaining about problems with Siege do brush this one off because they might be on console and they don't have to deal with hackers, but I mean admittedly they do have their own problems over there. But it is a really big issue, and it is plaguing the game at the moment. But recently Ubisoft announced that next season you're going to have to attach a phone number to your account if you want to play ranked. Now on the surface that might not sound like much, but actually it is a big step forward considering that before all you needed was an email, and anyone can pull an email out of their arse whenever they want. But a phone number is a little bit more difficult to get multiple of, so if an account gets banned, they're going to have another phone number on hand that hasn't been attached to a previous account that's already been banned. Now as I mentioned before, console does have its own problems as well, not so much with hackers, but still with a form of cheating, mainly being M&K users. Now, while Ubisoft has said before that they actually aren't able to do very much about this issue because it's more of an issue with Microsoft and Sony, Sony has actually made a stride in this issue because when the PS5 version of Siege first launched, I don't know if it's still a thing, but Zims did not work on that. The adapter that allowed you to connect an M&K and play Siege with it, that didn't work on PS5. Now while the cheating issue on both PC and console is a big deal in itself, I feel like another big part of this is that the Siege community in recent years haven't felt like they've been listened to by Ubisoft. And over the last year, I feel like Ubisoft has tried to remedy that as much as possible. A few months back, the devs did an AMA on Reddit allowing people to ask anything they want to the devs, and that was very insightful for a lot of people, and it felt like they were actually finally trying to listen to the community. Also, only a few days ago they announced that duplicates will no longer be in the esports packs that you get for watching the Twitch streams, which is something that people have been asking since the inception of these packs, and so it sucks that it's kind of coming this late into the cycle of these packs. But it still shows that Ubisoft is trying to listen as much as they can. They also took heavy feedback from people when they released the new UI last season. So keeping all that in mind, what's something that the community's been asking for about 3 years at this point? Well actually there's probably a lot of things that people have been asking for that amount of time, but let's start with streamer mode. Now streamer mode had a weird launch. It kind of launched in a way where it didn't really work as a streamer mode at all, but in the last couple of weeks a few content creators have been given access to an actual functioning streamer mode now, and it's gotten some positive feedback despite not working properly on the first day. On top of that, there was a warm-up game mode that released on the test server for a little while. I didn't actually get to play it, but hopefully I'll get to play it if it does actually release into the game. I think the main thing that people have been asking for is new content in general, such as new maps and new weapons. Because after Siege made the decision to only release one op per season, it really did feel like we were getting much less content, especially considering there was also no new maps coming. Now next season, I believe that we're going to be getting a new map because I don't think they can go much longer without a new map. The same thing applies to new weapons as well, considering that Thorn last season got the first new weapon since, I believe, Shadow Legacy with Zero. At the end of the day, I think it more so comes down to incentive to play the game. I mean, incentive to play the game this last season for me was so low that, do you know what game I was playing? I was playing Fortnite. With the content that's releasing being less than what Siege players were used to a few years ago, it's given people less incentive to play. There's also more games on the market right now that can take place of Siege. With Ubisoft hopefully adding some new maps this coming year, it should drive up the incentive for people to jump back into this game if they've already quit it, or play it some more if they've managed to stick with it. And look, by no means is Ubisoft a perfect company. They are making some very, very questionable decisions elsewhere in the company, but that shouldn't take away from what this department of Siege has done for the game over the last few years. But at the end of the day, that's just my 2 cents on the matter. You might disagree with the things that I've said in this video, and if that's the case, then, you know, I don't know, leave a comment or something. If you actually sat through all of that and managed to get this far into the video, then I really do appreciate it, and thank you for that. And also, thank you for all the support on the last video that I made, the tips and tricks thing, because I know that 300's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but for my 3rd video, it felt like a lot, and thank you for that. I plan to make more videos in the near future, hopefully not as boring as a topic as this one, and so I guess I'll catch you in that one. See ya.